Hi everybody, and welcome to the Millennial Revolt, an independent political talk show that seeks to bring a different narrative than the stale one we have going on right now in the mainstream media. So today we're going to be talking about Germany. We're going to be talking about the horrific terrorist attack that occurred a few days earlier. We're going to be talking about Angela Merkel and her future as the German Chancellor. We're also going to be talking about Alternative for Germany and the rise of populist movements in Europe, because I think it's important that we have this discussion. I talked about my feelings on this in a previous video, but I think it's relevant for me to discuss it again. So there's so much to get into, so let's just get right into it. So first we need to talk about how we got here. On Monday, December 19th, a 24-year-old Tunisian migrant ran over Germans who were just shopping in a Christmas mart with a truck, killing 12 people and leaving over 50 injured. Now, AMIR was the subject of a terrorism probe in Germany earlier this year, but was not deported even though his asylum bid was rejected. He has now become the subject of a nationwide manhunt after investigators discovered his wallet along with his identity documents in the truck used in Monday's attack. Now, this has raised so many questions. German authorities have issued a 100,000 euro reward for information leading to his capture. They have also warned citizens not to approach the 5'8", 165-pound man. Now, the political fallout of this has been pointing to the flaws in Germany's deportation system and putting a harsh light on Angela Merkel's, who is the German Chancellor's, humanitarian bid to open the nation's floodgates to nearly 1 million migrants and refugees last year. Now, I've said this before in a previous video, and I think it bears repeating. The first duty of any elected official in government is to protect the people who have elected you. You don't have a responsibility to anyone else. You have a responsibility to the German people, and whether they're ethnic Germans, whether they're Turkish people who are living in Germany, if these people voted for you, you have the responsibility to protect them. Why would you invite 1 million people who are not vetted? You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know their political ideologies. You don't know how they feel about your country into Germany. And now you see the situation that has aroused. And this has been happening steadily, these issues with migrants attacking native Germans for this whole year. We've seen the train attack where there was a migrant who was attacking people with a butcher knife. We've seen the issues in Cologne where you had migrants raping women and sexually assaulting people. Just last week you had I think it was an MP's daughter in the European Parliament who was raped and murdered. And we've been having these sorts of issues in Germany because of Angela Merkel. Now, I'm not saying that native Germans can't rape and murder people, but it's something completely different when it's the people who were born there doing that versus the people you've invited, you've given them shelter from the war, or you have economic migrants coming looking for work into your country. You give them housing, you help them find jobs, and then they're turning around assaulting the people who've helped them. That is something completely different. And seeing how the Germans are reacting, some of them who just don't seem to get it, and I feel like if they get outraged and if they get upset, that it's going to look bad on them because of their history in World War II. And I feel this, I can't be sure, but I feel like Germany as a country is involved in collective guilt over what happened in the past. And my whole thing is Germany needs to let it go. Like, it's 2016. Because of your chancellor's supposed humanitarian act, it is now physically hurting your society. People are dying. People are being killed over what she did. And you're going to either need to get it together and get a grip and pull yourselves back from the brink, or you're not going to have a society, because it's looking like you guys can't seem to say, no, this needs to stop. We can't be the most giving culture in the world. We can't say welcome to everyone. You can't do it. You can't save everyone. You know, Germans are supposed to be, or well, at least the stereotype is, you're supposed to be the smartest people, and you can't seem to get a grasp on saying we can't accept everyone. And I feel like if anyone talks out about this, and you already see this happening all over the EU, you have these people are labeled racists, they're labeled Nazis, they're labeled bigots, because they're saying, look, you know, you can't bring everyone here. These people aren't going to assimilate. These people are here for economic reasons. Tunisia is not in a war. Pakistan is not in a war. And it's the same thing when you have Moroccan migrants. Why do you have these people coming to your country if their country is not involved in a war? It makes no sense. Now, protests have erupted in Germany because of what has happened. Crowds have gathered outside the Chancellery in Berlin. A series of protests, counter-demonstration, and vigils are being held across Berlin. Supporters of the Alternative for Deutschland, or its English name Alternative for Germany, are demonstrating outside Angela Merkel's office. Placards reading "Merkel must go" was waved in the crowd as supporters carried the German flag and lit candles for the dead. Other placards read "Protect our borders" and "On Merkel's hands and the blood of her people." And rightly so. Angela Merkel is being blamed, rightly so, for a situation that she has caused. Even people in her own party, the CDU, has come down and said, look, we can't take any more people. You need to stop this migrant policy that you're implementing. She keeps saying, well, we can do it. We can do it. No, you can't do it. You have your citizens being killed by people whose asylum application was rejected, who are still in your country and now are murdering your citizenry and causing terrorist attacks. And this isn't one incident. These are multiple incidents. These things weren't happening before, and no one is to blame but Angela Merkel. And if she gets reelected, then it's going to be a shame on the German people, because you're going to be ensuring that this type of situation is going to keep happening in your country. People were also seen holding placards with the logo of the far-right identitarian movement, Identitaire Bewegung, reading "It's enough, how many times?" Politicians and Berliners alike were anxious as authorities incrementally released details of the attack. Police said that the truck was owned and operated by a Polish shipping company and was heading back to Poland from Italy when it was hijacked. The driver, a cousin of the company's manager, was supposed to stop in Berlin to unload a shipment of steel beams before heading back to Poland. The manager told German media that the company lost contact with the driver hours before the truck reached the outdoor Christmas market. A dead passenger was found inside the demolished truck. Police confirmed that he had been shot in the head and that he had Polish citizenship. Those details had some officials resolute that the disaster was terror-related even before Islamic State operatives issued their claim of responsibility. After the terrorist attack, many Germans are left wondering about the domestic security capabilities in the face of the evidently growing threat. According to Ralph Jaeger, Interior Ministry of Germany's North Rhine-Westphalia state, AMIR was already under investigation for terror plotting. Security authorities are warning that there is no way to completely remove the threat of terrorism, suggesting no choice but for tight security precautions against terror to become part of everyday life. And I feel so sorry, and I am truly saddened that these people had to deal with this, that these people's family members, their loved ones, will never see them again because of their chancellor's decisions. To all the women who were assaulted, the stories we read about boys, little girls, little boys being sexually assaulted, people being killed, raped, it just boggles my mind how this woman has any support. And I bring this back to my point. You let in 1,000,000, not 1,000, not 100,000, 1,000,000 people, unvetted, unchecked. You don't know what their political ideologies are. You don't even know what country half of these people are coming from, to come into your country, and now you have attacks on a scale like this. It just boggles my mind how this woman is not thrown in jail, and the people who supported her idiotic party are not thrown in jail as well, because it's extremely ridiculous. How can anyone support a woman who has left this country so vulnerable, who is destroying this country from the inside out? You didn't have terrorist attacks like this on German soil. That is happening more frequently. I mean, they just foiled a terrorist attack with a 12-year-old boy who made a homemade nail bomb, trying to put it in a Christmas market to kill people. So now this brings me back to what I said in the beginning of the video when I said we are going to be talking about the AfD. Now, the AfD is Alternative for Deutschland, and they have rightly criticized Angela Merkel for her open door policy. Now, the leader of the AfD, Frauke Petry, has argued that there was a link between Mrs. Merkel's open door migration policy and terrorism in Germany. She said this is a terrible day, but it is not completely unexpected given the warnings from the security authorities, including about the prospect of an attack on Berlin. Now, Berlin is the capital of Germany. Frauke Petry said we cannot go on denying there is a link between Merkel's migration policies and these attacks, or we will prepare that ground for more of these attacks. Now, Angela Merkel is the leader of the Christian Democratic Union, which is the CDU. Now, she is preparing to stand for re-election in the German federal elections of next year, which is in 2017. Now, Frauke Petry has predicted a radical shift to the right would be the German chancellor's undoing, noting that Mrs. Merkel is finished. She added, the worst case is that we get 4 more years of Merkel, and that means 4 more years of doing nothing to fix the problem. And I believe that people are going to get tired of Angela Merkel saying anything to get elected, to try to appease the German people, but doing nothing. You can only say so much till people get tired of it. And AfD has been rising in the polls. I've said this in a previous video. They are winning all over Germany in state and local elections. Now, if they get in the Bundestag, which is their national parliament, then they have a chance to actually win the chancellorship in a couple of years. And they are a fairly new party. Many people see Frauke Petry as a growing threat to Merkel after the AfD saw a surge in support because many Germans were rejecting Angela Merkel's open door policies. Now, Angela Merkel is trying to walk back her open door migration policy. I've even seen her say she's going to call for bans on the burqa in public places. Now, I personally don't believe Angela Merkel. I believe she's going to try to adopt some right-wing policies just so she can get elected. And you see this with a lot of politicians in Europe who see what they call the far right or populist movements rising, so they try to adopt their policies to stay in power. But the fact of the matter is, people don't believe you. Your actions for a whole year have been, we can do it, we can do it, we can do it, we can do it. Even when members of your own party were telling you, like, we can't do this anymore, you need to close the borders, you need to reinstate border checks. You kept saying, no, we can do it, we can do it, we can do it. And then you started having multiple attacks, whether they were sexual assaults or they were terrorist attacks, and you kept saying, we can do it, we can do it, we can do it. You have blood on your hands now, Angela Merkel. People have been killed in your country because of your misguided sense of humanitarianism, and it's very very disturbing. It's very disturbing. A spokesman for Tunisia's anti-terrorism judicial police said that Anis Amir's family has been questioned. Spokesman Sophie Setli said that two specialized brigades in Tunisia and Carillon interrogated family members of the suspect at their home in the central Tunisian town of Osleta. He did not say how many people were present at the interrogation. He said that the suspect's family lives in poverty and his parents are divorced, according to Tunisia's Mosik FM radio. Tunisia's Mosik FM radio reports that the man being sought in Germany in connection with the Berlin Christmas market attack had previous convictions in Italy and his home country. Mosik FM radio quoted Anis Amir's father saying that his son left Tunisia about 7 years ago and spent 4 years in a prison in Italy after being accused in a fire at a school. He then moved to Germany more than a year ago. The father did not provide details, and he said that he had no contact with his son, although his other sons did. Mosik's FM radio said that Tunisian security officials are saying that Amir was also convicted in Absentina for aggravated theft with violence and sentenced to 5 years in prison. German authorities suspected that in Monday's deadly truck attack in Berlin was under covert surveillance for several months earlier this year. Berlin prosecutors said that they launched an investigation against Anis Amir on March 14th following a tip from federal security agencies. The tip warned that Amir, who was considered a potential threat by authorities in the western state of Northern Rhine-Westphalia, might be planning a break-in to finance the purchase of automatic weapons for use in an attack. Surveillance showed that Amir was involved in drug dealing in a Berlin park and involved in a bar brawl, but no evidence to substantiate the original warnings. The observation was called off in September. Germany issued a notice to other European countries overnight seeking the arrest of Anis Amir, but initially held off on going public so as not to jeopardize the manhunt. After German media published photos of him and a partial name, federal prosecutors went public with the investigation. Now, Stefan Meyer, a senior lawmaker with Germany's governing conservatives, said that the Tunisian-born man was in his early 20s and considered part of the Salafist Islamist scene by authorities. The suspect arrived in Germany in July of 2015 and has lived in 3 German regions since February, mostly in Berlin. Now, Jagger told reporters that the state police has launched proceedings against the man on suspicion that he was preparing a serious crime. He said security agencies exchanged information about this person in a joint counterterrorism center the last time in November. Now, a Tunisian official said that German investigators are trying to determine Amir's role in the Berlin market's attack. The official, speaking on the condition of anonymity, before German officials spoke more about the investigation, said the Tunisian authorities were requesting more information on the German probe. Christmas shoppers were out again in Berlin's streets on Wednesday in the German capital, and Berlin's mayor Michael Müller said that it was good to see that Berliners aren't being intimidated. He said that I don't think there's any need to be afraid. The police presence has significantly heightened, and of course other measures taken to find the perpetrator quickly. Mueller argued that there are limits to increasing security given the number of public spaces and events. He said it wouldn't be free and open life anymore if we escalated security measures so much that the people worry about going anywhere, that there are strict entry checks. He said, we don't want that. It must be appropriate and goal-oriented. Well, if your damn chancellor didn't invite 1 million people into your country unvetted, no background checks, you don't know where these people were coming from, then you wouldn't have these situations. And this laissez-faire attitude that the mayor has is very frustrating to me. I understand that you want to be the voice of reason, but some people need to say, like, look, we have people being run over. The same thing that you had happen in Nice in France. The French people are waking up. They are saying no more. You have German people, it seems, walking around like this is okay. And I know people are scared and people shouldn't live in fear. They shouldn't. But something needs to be done. You can't act like this is okay. These things are a part of our daily life and then move on like it was nothing. I hope the German security forces find this man. I hope that the rest of the German Christmas season, as tarnished and as blackened as it is because of this tragic event, they can still celebrate with their loved ones, their family, and their friends, and just bring in the new year together. You know, we are sometimes so caught up in our daily lives, I think, that we don't realize that we only have one life to live and it's extremely short and it goes by very fast, and we can be here today and gone tomorrow in an instant. I hope that people are able to say the things that they want to say to the people that they love and never have a moment that they regret, because unfortunately, given the crazy people that are out here in the world, that could be your last chance seeing the person that you love. I hope they catch that murderous son of a bee. I hope he is tried and prosecuted to the highest extent of the law in Germany. And they really need to get a vetting process going, because you can't have situations like this. And I wanted to touch on the far right or the populist movements, because I said I would, and I did speak about this in a previous video. I've said this before and I will say it again. If you keep alienating people and you keep telling people who are complaining or who are concerned about what they are seeing in their country, if they try to voice their opinions, whether it be on social media or whether it be in public, and you keep labeling these people as racist, bigots, sexists, homophobes, it's sort of the same thing that you've seen that was happening in the US. And I understand why it's an extremely sensitive issue, especially given Germany's history around xenophobia. I can completely understand that. But again, if you don't allow people to express themselves properly and voice their opinions in a way that is not threatening to other people, but is just saying, I have legitimate concerns about what's going on, and you try to shut these people down, there are some people who are extremists, not all, who are going to be driven and driven and driven and driven to a point where they're going to want to attack people. Do I think that's happening now? I've read some stories about people taking matters into their own hands. Also, given the fact that Germans can't properly arm themselves to actually defend themselves, it could be that reason why also. But I just hope that, and what I see happening is that many people across Europe I don't think they're racist and I don't think they're bigots. I think people are getting tired of being ignored by their political establishments. I think they are tired of complaining and saying we need controls on our immigration. We need youth unemployment to go down, because in the EU, youth unemployment is extremely high. The Eurozone has not been fixed. That currency is just falling. The EU is about to fall apart. People have legitimate concerns. These countries' social safety nets are being stretched thin by people who are on unemployment, people who are homeless, native people to each of these countries. And I'm not just talking about Germany now, I'm talking in general, who are on unemployment. And then you have millions of people coming into your countries with different political ideologies, different religious backgrounds, different ways of thinking coming into your country, getting on these social benefits as well, because you have to understand people who are coming in, one, they don't speak the language in any country that they're coming to. They're going to need to get on social welfare. They're also going to need housing, and this is going to take away from the native population who are already probably hurting themselves. And this is going to create anger and resentment, and rightfully so. And as I said, and I will say this multiple times, your elected politicians have a duty to the people who elected them. So we will see. Time will only tell. I'm the Millennial Revolt. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you have a wonderful day. Bye.